It's entitled, When They Speak of Our Time, They Will Say. When they speak of our time, they will say it was a time when truth abandoned our words, when running sores passed for a false prophet's mouth. They will say it was a time when television super shrinks conducted group psychosis, and when drugged up teenagers lived in a haze of oblivion. They will say this was a time when we hamster-wheeled inside the jagged jaws of death that stood hovering above us, licking its murderous lip. This was when blues and jazz meant nothing to the asterisk of adolescent faces lost in the footnote of pop cult hysteria. They will say this was the hour of the falling towers, when halos of metal rained screams upon our cities, and smoke blackened the skies until the sun was just a jaundiced memory. They will say that this was a time when English spoken with the wrong accent meant an uncertain fate. And this was when both red and blue states forgot that God is colorblind. They will say it was a time morality drank of Hollywood's hemlock. It was when intellectual cowards bowed to the powers and promises of gold. They will say that a horrible darkness whispered our names until we closed our eyes and trembled with fear until we became the darkness we feared. They will say it was a time of war in the name of terror, in the name of freedom, for the sake of peace. So there would be no more war in the name of. They will say this was a time of shrunken bellies and refugees, and of blood being plagued by the ache of disease, and of islands floating away on rafts made of human bodies. They will say this was a time of the bullet bite, the misogynist lyric, and the anti-truth, when we all danced to the beat of our children's cracking skulls. But let them also say that this was a time we fought against a self-inflicted genocide, that something human stood up in us that resisted the Orwellian jackboot, that finally, in the rumbling throat of Ray Charles, we heard what America could become. And in the biting wit of Mark Twain, we finally got the punchline, and it was us. We finally realized that manifest destiny could no longer patch the human-sized hole in our history. Let them say that this was when we said yes, again and again and again and again, to the pages of Neruda's verses, resounding with peace for the coming twilight, peace for the bridge, peace for the wine, peace for the letters that seek us and rise in our blood, entwining the old song of land and love. We said peace for that city in the morning when bread rises, peace for the ashes of our fallen, peace for all living beings, peace for every water in every land. Let them say that this was when the woman stepped forward to declare, I am that I am, and we men broke ourselves of the need to break women. Let them say that this was a time we struggled against fist and fallacy, and it was of lawyers abandoning courtrooms to paint wheat in Kenyan fields, that this was when truth found our mouths again, and we were unafraid to open our mouths to it. Let them say that we were a people of faith in a time when faith was in crisis, that we were were a people of hope, when it made no sense to hope, that we still believe love could be as simple as the cliched images our ancestors painted on caves. Images birthing our first human songs. Images like water and flower, the sun, moon and star, and wind and rain and river and fire. Because even as the earth shook beneath our shoes, we knew there were some things that would never ever change. Let them say that it was a time we all desperately reached through the malignant maelstrom of electronic chaos, that we reached through the maddening invocations of the soulless who profit from the poisonous pathology of our time. And we found others there, like ourselves, with our own hands, reaching back. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Rivera on bass and cello. Mr. Todd Brunel